Right, well, we're back at Bray Lake on Saturday the 6th of October, and it is raining, and we're hoping to get a decent wind, but meanwhile we've got plenty of rain on the deck, and Dick is going to launch it in a minute, and we're not going to get much video because I can't hold this video camera out in the rain all the time. Do you want to say hello, Dick?
Hi. I'm not getting any radio control.
Right, well, eventually we got this boat back by Dick's skillful radio control, and we haven't learnt much because there's virtually no wind now. So we didn't really test the keel, and we didn't really get much wind data. But, well, we got a lot of wind data, but it's for very light wind. So we'll be able to draw a polar diagram for light wind, which will be quite interesting.
What we didn't have was the crisis that occurred last time when an interrupted itself.
No, well, and I fixed that.
And so we can assume that
we can assume that we'll have got some data on there, but I'm not going to claim that until I've actually read the SD card. We've had problems before with that. Well, we did learn something from that trip. The wind was overwhelmingly from the north, as you can see by this histogram, and the average wind speed, however, was much lower than we expected, at only 2.2 mph. But we did manage to get a polar diagram out of it. Forget the green curve for a moment, just look at the red curve. This is a plot of boat speed as measured by GPS speed over ground on this radial scale from 0 to 1 knot, and on the azimuth we have the angle of the wind to the boat, and so this red line approximates to a polar diagram for Woodstock with a wind speed of 2.2 mph. Apart from this anomalous spike in the middle here, we can see that obviously when the wind is full on the bow, the boat cannot make any progress, but when the wind gets round to 60 degrees, then we get a reasonable boat speed. And likewise, when the wind is astern, we also get a reasonable boat speed. Interestingly, we get slower boat speed when the wind is at 90 degrees to the boat, which I suppose is probably what you might expect, because the sails are not trimmed for broadside on sailing. There's a slight asymmetry here between the wind being on the starboard side and the wind being on the port side, and I don't know what the reason for that, nor do I know what the reason for this spike here is. The green line just tells you the number of observations we've got, so it's not really relevant. So we got that data at any rate. And the take-home message from it is that we need to tack whenever the wind is closer than 60 degrees to the angle of the boat, or the angle of the course we want to sail. Right, well, it's Sunday after the Saturday when we were on the lake, and there's a little bit of water down there. It's actually
dried up.
It almost dried up, but it definitely was some water down there. I don't know how that arose, but possibly because we hadn't fully screwed the deck nuts down whilst it was raining. And Dick has been helping me remove the rudder so that we can modify it. And we had a great deal of trouble because despite having an enormous set of Allen keys, imperial and metric, we couldn't find one that actually fitted the grub screw that I had carefully Loctited in there. So eventually we managed to get it off with brute force after failing to do so by heating it up with an air gun. So that's a good reason for not using Loctite in things you want to get undone again. Right, well, this is the rudder, and that's our diagram of it. I've taken these screws off, so this should come off like that. We want to put that in this position there.
So it actually is there, but it's just...
it wants to come down a bit.
It's just supporting this side as well.
It just needs to support this side at the top.
Yeah, that's right. Because the support at the bottom there.
So we could actually put this further down, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, because we've got
Thereby
excess height there.
take this collet off.
Yeah.
Thereby have room to put another tab
Yep.
across here.
That's right.
So we've got to brace that tab on.
Yep.
And then we've got to simultaneously cut this.
I'd put it
into the desired
as close
shape.
to that as possible.
Would you?
Yeah, that
You would do, wouldn't you? Just to make it awkward, because that's going to melt that brace whilst I'm bracing this one.
All right. Okay.
Why do you want that?
I was just the shape of the boat will go down this way.
Yes.
So if we do need to trim this at all,
Oh, I see.
is that the?
And of course, it's not.
And
No,
it's
you
not
want
to
it scaled
scale.
up to the same
Well,
size.
so you're laying this, which is full size, against a reduced picture.
Oh,
of the,
all right. Well, let's lay it on this.
Shall we redraw it on there? Just guessing by eye here, aren't I? We haven't got any particular
No,
proportions.
it's entirely what you think is appropriate. But what I can say is that can't come much further back than that.
Right.
I think it's a bit narrow what you've got there.
Yeah, so I'd say we want a bit more rudder and a bit more balance. So I'd go for...
Well, if this is where the shaft's going to be,
Yeah.
then you've got that much rudder this side, so there needs to be that much rudder that side.
No,
doesn't
you're
it?
not equally balancing.
You're not equally balancing.
No,
Why not?
No, you're just taking the load, just
I see.
a bit on the
You just
leading.
want a little bit.
Yes. So, sort of like that.
Yeah.
Like that. Right. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line. This is
I think it's further over than it was last time, but and
further
also
this
it's not
way.
straight.
It's square with the top.
Yes, but the top isn't square.
Okay.
Well, anyway, on the Mark 1 eyeball, I think that's straight now. But I'm not going to complain about it. Actually, I am, because I complain about everything.
No. You said it. Right. So,
You're going to cut that out with a jigsaw?
yep.
I'll see if I can find the brazing stuff. Let's widen it anyway.
Yeah.
What else could go wrong?
You stand in front of it. You don't all you film is your right shoulder.
No. Let's come down a bit. I'm just going to put a little flux in there if I can get it in there before.
Okay, so there's our resized and reshaped, balanced rudder. It's actually the same depth as the original one, but it's another 6 inches further towards the stern, would you say?
More than that, about 9 inches further.
9 inches?
Yeah.
So it's going to be further away from the keel towards the stern than it previously was. Hence, have more leverage. So we figure a smaller rudder will create less drag, but still be just as effective, if not more.
Yep.
Time will tell.
Something wrong with this chuck on this. Oh, no, I don't know. There's something wrong inside this thing, I think. Right, I made 3 holes. So we've drilled an experimental hole in the hull for the rudder.
Clearance either side there.
Looks quite sexy actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Can we look at that from a lower angle? From the back, do you?
Is it in line with the keel? No.
No, it's miles off.
You are joking.
Looks fine to me.
Right.
I don't care. So this is the final arrangement. We've moved the whole mechanism aft. The rudder shaft used to be here and now it is here, so it's moved back by 13 inches, and we've just epoxied a much shorter rudder shaft into a block of wood there. Seems to be alright. There was no water coming up the shaft. That's full starboard, and that's centre. So, Woodstock is ready for another test of the deeper keel and the rudder move back in higher winds. And in fact, we've actually already done that test, and I hope to be uploading a video of it in a few days. Thanks very much for watching. Oh, and I got myself a new bandsaw. Haven't had much use of it yet. Still don't have a milling machine, however.